Hello folks, good morning to you wherever it is you're watching us from. We're live before the Monrovia City Court, where today the Capital 5 will be appearing before the Monrovia City Court for preliminary hearing or a preliminary examination. There is one of the five, Representative Priscilla Cooper, is accompanied by her lawyer, Councillor George Kalando. Hugs are being exchanged, and she's the first to arrive amongst the five lawmakers that have been accused, and she's not going into the court, but she is following suit of her lawyer, Councillor Kalando, and there is one of the defense counsels as well, the one nominee for the War and Economics Crimes Court, Councillor Senator Masakwe. So she's making her way into the cafeteria of the Temple of Justice. So if you're just joining us, Spoon TV, we're live here on the grounds of the Temple of Justice, where the five lawmakers that have been accused of arson, criminal conspiracy, criminal attempt to commit murder, reckless endangerment, and other charges. One of the five has arrived, and that is Representative Priscilla Cooper of District Number 5, Monserrado County. My name is Diamond Slanger. We earlier saw the arrival of the Solicitor General of the Republic of Liberia, Councillor Augustine C. Faya. Also the arrival of Councillor Jonathan Masakwe, one of the lead counsels of the Capital 5, but he's representing four of the five. We do not know whether Priscilla Cooper is going to join his defense, be his client, or she will be defended only by Councillor George Kalando. But one of the five has arrived. This is a preliminary hearing, and we'll be speaking to you on what the advantages, the reasons of conducting a preliminary or evidence examination is pivotal here in our criminal jurisprudence in Liberia. Why is preliminary examination of evidence important? What are the sentences associated, the sentences meted out on these charges as well? If you're found guilty of arson, what is the prison sentence length? We'll be speaking about all of that. The five lawmakers are all out on bail, and we will be bringing you all of what is unfolding. So we remain live here, Spoon TV, Diamond Slanger, Sylvester Cholople, and of course Melvin Jackson is a part of this team as well. So we remain posted right here. This is where vehicles come to a halt. So we are making some technical adjustments. I'm trying to secure a spot. This is going to be a coverage that will take some time. We do not know how long the preliminary examination is going to. So bear with us as we try to sort this out. Okay. So Melvin Jackson is here. Melvin is our lead judicial correspondent. What we can promise to you is we will be giving you updates from the court as the preliminary examination is underway. We will be also speaking to those who are legal minds here on the grounds of the Temple of Justice and providing to you expert opinion and analysis as well. So once Melvin is ready, he will join us here before the camera, and will provide to you update and coverage from the grounds of the Temple of Justice as well. So if you're just joining us on Spoon TV live ahead of the preliminary examination or evidence examination of the capital arson case involving 5 lawmakers who on last week Friday were invited as persons of interest in an initial 7. 2 were released based on grounds that they didn't have information relevant to the investigation. 5 were subsequently charged with an array of crimes as well. Alright folks, we are doing some technical adjustments here. Please let us know the quality of the audio as well. Please let us know the quality of the audio so that we can better adjust if there is need for any sort of adjustment. Please do let us know the quality of the audio by just leaving a comment. Kindly do that for us. Just leave a comment and let us know the quality of our audio. Please just leave a comment. We're live here at the Temple of Justice, where we've seen the arrival of one of the 5 accused lawmakers, Representative Priscilla Kofa of District Number 5, Monrovia County. She arrived minutes ago, accompanied by her lawyer, Anthony, that's Councillor Bobby Calando, George Bobby Calando. And this is preliminary examination or evidence examination, preliminary hearing, if you want to call it that way. Kindly leave comments so that we are aware of the quality, the audio quality. Please do leave a comment as we are making sure that we have good sound quality. The comments are going to inform us as to the quality of the audio. When it comes to the presence of security, state security, okay, so the prosecution is headed to court now. We do see the Solicitor General of the Republic of Liberia, Councillor Augustine Fayard, is making his way to the Monrovia City Court, flanked by his security details. He's entering the Monrovia City Court as we speak. So the prosecution, that is the state, has now entered the Monrovia City Court. This hearing is slated to begin at 10 a.m. this morning. We've seen the arrival of one of the defendants in person of Representative Priscilla Cooper. We are yet to see the arrival of former Speaker J. Fonati Kofa, Dixon Cibo, Abu Kamara, Jacob DB the second as well. We yet to see the arrival of the remaining 4. We also do see representation from the Liberia Council of Churches. They've been here since Saturday, making representations as well. Thank you so much for your comments. All right, so we are getting on.
Keep following us. So yes, stay off.
Representative Kamar, Representative Cibo, and Representative are not going to appear before yourself today. Rather, they will be represented by a defense team. Now, what are these charges? What are the sentences attached to these charges? As well, we will get to all of that. But what is the essence of having a preliminary hearing or an evidence examination? Why is it so important? It is allowed under our judicial system between our jurisprudence. It is allowed that evidence examination or preliminary trial be granted. One, it is to make sure that there is clear facility that there is evidence to evidence enough to have a case. It is also important to have a evidence examination. I would say yes, that is why it's important to report again, reviewing, listening to, seeing pieces of evidence that justifies whatever is going on move forward. It protects against the prosecution, prevents individuals from being prosecuted without evidence. So that is another reason why having a preliminary trial is important.
So folks, kindly let us know the quality of the audio. I see Melvin came to do some technical adjustment. So please let us know the quality of the audio. If it's good, please comment. I think we lost some sort of connection with our audio device. But if there is good audio quality, okay, there is Fanati Kofa. So the information that we received that he wasn't going to appear, wasn't.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know.
Criminal Court C already awaiting. Honorable Councilor, welcome. Good morning.
Are you ready to deconstruct?
Well, it appears he doesn't want to talk to members of the press this morning, but
Check up, JB.
Yeah.
Again, I want to bring you to the police will not allow me to go. So my character, and I've always done the right thing. And if you are accused, it's proper you make yourself available for you to be exonerated. And that is just the process. Your colleague, Friends Afoko, termed the entire investigation at the police headquarters as being a very calm and investigation. How do you term that? The police, when the police invites you to the headquarters, they are not your friends. So I can't tell me it's been kind. The procedures were just followed. And if the procedure is followed and you have not committed any crime, it is incumbent on the police to have you released. So it is God who released me. There are folks who believe that people like you should have been indicted rather than letting you go. There are folks also who believe that people should not go to heaven. But because God knows that the people are serving diligently and He allowed them to go.
Honorable Court, there seems to be a reduction in the tension here. Do you still call on people to come out, or you want the process to play out? Honorable Court has given his words as well. So we see the arrival of Representative J. Fonati Kofa. We were informed that he wasn't going to appear. But he's here again. That is why we have to verify information. That is why we say unconfirmed reports. But Honorable Fonati Kofa has arrived. Honorable DB has arrived. We are still not seeing Honorable Abu Bana Kamara and Honorable Dixon Cibo, but also who arrived earlier. The first arrival was that of Representative Priscilla Cooper. So what is happening is it is just pre-trial. There is Priscilla Cooper, Honorable Cooper there, is making her way into the court, flanked by her lawyer who's taking the lead. So Honorable Cooper has now entered the court. So in court we have J. Fonati Kofa, Priscilla Cooper, Jacob DB. We have not seen Representative Dixon Cibo and Representative Abu Kamara. So this is not formal or full trial. This is preliminary hearing or evidence examination. This is where the state is going to adduce before the judge what they've termed as surmountable evidence, concrete evidence, that the thing is going to lead the judge to say, yes, there is enough to go for a formal trial based on what they produce in there today, what their arguments are, what the defense will say, what the defense will contend. The judge might rule that indeed there is enough to go to full trial, as we saw in the Thomas Edridge and Eric Susse's case, or the judge might just say, look, there isn't enough here for these charges that you've put against these individuals, and hence we cannot proceed to trial. So whatever happens in there is based on what pieces of evidence the state is going to produce and what defense mechanism the defense team is going to put in place as well. Melvin Jackson is our judicial correspondent. He's well seasoned in matters as such, and he's going to bring us up to speed. Melvin, we witnessed the same during the Eric Susse and Thomas Edridge case. This is the preliminary hearing or evidence examination. How important is this process, and what might it lead to?
Yes, so this process is just intended to set up the basis
as to whether or not the state has the proper evidence that is needed to proceed the case to full trial. So yesterday that motion was being ruled on by the court, wherein this. Would you see another arrival? Is that so? In that case, yeah. Not at the moment. Yes, Robin. Yes. So as I was saying, Damo. So the lady was told yesterday that she's added to the bond that was filed. So that this is why you see her this morning. And this morning, the lawyer will set the basis, both the prosecutions and the defense. Why? Like right now, like we all know, in all criminal cases, the burden of proof rests on the shoulder of the prosecutions. So they will have to prove to the court in the couple of days or weeks or whatever that yes, we have that convincing evidence that can lead these people to a full trial. So on this note, after here, then if the judge rule and say yes, there's more evidence to lead the people to trial, then the matter will be transferred at the criminal court A to join with the others that are already there, like the Thomas Edrick and the Eric Susse. They are currently as criminal court A within indictment. To the best of my knowledge, they are yet to be indicted by the state for further proceeding of the matter. So that's it. We here this morning, like you informed our audience, Damo. The former speaker is here. You have Representative Didi, and you have the one who was exonerated there, Honorable Chair Marvin Cole. He's also here to provide his support to stay in solidarity with his colleague, despite being exonerated. It does not, according to him, it does not give him the courage to say.
He said he wasn't exonerated by the police, but he was rather exonerated by God.
By God. So he's also here to provide that needed support. So again, from my understanding and how the party goes, after whatever stuff, the prosecution might want to challenge the bond that was filed, because the bond, like we've been reporting, is 440,000. So they want to challenge it as to whether that needed property or value such, and whether or not the property is in good standing with the LRA and other concerning institutions that has something to do with the bond aspect or property aspect. So that's it this morning. So I think I will have to take my leave and go in the court, because if not, I won't get space to have our audience updated. Okay. But then we can have them posted. Whatever thing that's going to happen there, I will let you know.
Thank you. So Melvin Jackson is our judicial correspondent, and as you just listened to him laying it out, that we might just see a challenge to the bond that was accepted yesterday as well. But whether or not that is going to happen, we will be following up on the entire process. But based on this, we could see the case proceed further, or we could see charges dismissed or the charges reduced. So based on what pieces of evidence that the state is going to adduce before the judge this morning at this evidence examination or preliminary hearing, we might just see that the charges will be upheld and we'll see a formal trial, or the charges might be dismissed, or they might be reduced. So the importance of a preliminary hearing or evidence examination hearing is very crucial here in our jurisprudence in Liberia. We did see former Speaker Kofa enter the court. Remember, he said yesterday after their release that they will deconstruct the basket of evidence, what he termed as political charges against them. Remember, he's a legal luminary, and not only that, he was once the third most powerful man in the country. He has got resources. He's not alone standing these charges before the judicial system of Liberia. He's got 4 other representatives who in our country are people of means. They can afford the best lawyers. They can afford the best foreign experts. They can afford the best, legal teams to come and represent them to deconstruct. The only job of the defense team is to produce reasonable doubt. What will be their strategy? We're far from knowing what the strategy will be, because this is just evidence examination or preliminary hearing. But any defense team, their main aim is to always create doubt in the minds of jurors by evidence they produce, by questions and cross-examinations that they conduct with witnesses, by examining witnesses as well. So what questions they will ask, what scenarios they will paint. We listen through the grapevine that the police might just be subpoenaed to come and state how they got their evidence. We listen to the grapevine again that those who are in charge of the capital will be invited, will be subpoenaed to come before the court, not by their own volition, but by a legal order to explain what was the security regimen like, what was the security protocol like. If you say this place is well protected, how did these guys gain entry, into the rotunda and the joint chamber to have ignited these devices that cause the spark and subsequently the flames and the fire that gutted the capital? These are questions the defense will want to poke the investigative reports. How credible are they? Remember, the defense already started when President Boyka made a statement that this is an act that was conducted by hooligans, and hooliganism wouldn't be allowed in the country. The defense is going to say, look, from the president's statement, even prior before the release of an investigative report, it pointed to an arson. How did he know? What informed him? Was his statement what informed these investigators to have come up with such, a report that it was arson? And there will be so many different things that the defense will do, but all of what will be involved is just creating doubt as well, and doubt in the evidence, forensic evidence, the gathering of the evidence. These strategies are employed by defense counsels. The prosecution will have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that these lawmakers conspired to have burnt the joint chamber of the capital. Where did they conspire? How did they conspire? What's the paper trail? Remember, the IG said they have digital evidence. How was the digital evidence gathered? Was it through approved investigative techniques? Was it through covert yet legal means? How were the pieces of evidence gathered as well? The defense will want to ask those questions. The prosecution will have the insurmountable task of proving beyond a reasonable doubt that these lawmakers sat, criminally connived, criminally conspired, criminally facilitated, and executed from the burning of the Capitol building, in specifics to that of the joint chamber and that of the rotunda. So this case is far from being over. We witnessed similar legal battles in the case involving the former Chief Justice, Councillor Gloria Mususcat, and 3 others. We saw foreign experts being brought in. It was a media frenzy here at the grounds of the Temple of Justice, as it is today. But what is happening now is evidence examination, preliminary hearing.
To you live from the Monrovia City
This
Court.
gives the opportunity to both the defense and the prosecution to examine evidence being brought, to examine one or two key witnesses. We hearing that Representative Cooper might most likely stand trial alone, severance trial. Whether or not the rest of the 4 representatives will want to stick together and have a joint trial or a class act trial, if you want to put it that way. Was it going to be easy for the prosecution if they do stand together to prove conspiracy? Credibility of witnesses is going to be key. Any defense team is going to poke holes into the credibility of witnesses. Is the state going to flip some of these guys that have been in custody for a period of time? Is there going to be plea deals? Are they going to cut deals, which is already legal? The state can flip someone from being a defendant into a state witness with charges either being lessened or dropped based on involvement or based on whom the state feels are the big fishes they want to get. So we're watching how all this is going to play out. But even if the state is going to be successful in flipping any of these people that have been termed as co-conspirators, you have to look at proximity to information as well. Who are you flipping? Did the person have a proximity to the information? Example, were they in plenty meetings? Can they tell you how close they are to each of these co-conspirators, alleged co-conspirators? Do they have the information that is needed? And if so, is the information trusted? The defense is, if anybody is going to be flipped, the defense is also going to argue that this person is either trying to save his or her neck, and this person is not credible. The defense, like any good defense, will say, look, they did not have proximity to our client. They've not been involved in any of such. A good lawyer will always want to establish proximity and credibility of a witness in any criminal case. So folks will be here. Jury selection, again, we've not gone that far. Anything could happen in the court there based on what unfolds, based on the pieces of evidence, based on arguments, based on one or two key witnesses that will be produced. Then we might go to a full trial like we are anticipating in the Thomas Edgeworth and Eric Sousa's case, or the charges might be dismissed, or the charges might be lessened based on what unfolds in there. So if you're just joining us, this is Spoon TV. We're live here from the grounds of the Temple of Justice, awaiting the arrival, if there will be an arrival of additional 2 lawmakers. 3 lawmakers are currently in there. 4 lawmakers are currently, 3 lawmakers are currently in there. Jacob DB, Priscilla Cooper, and J. Fonati Kofa. 2 of the Capital 5 have not arrived. We see their lawyer, one of their lawyers, Councillor Jonathan Masakwe, is out here, but the state, represented by the Solicitor General of the Republic of Liberia, Councillor Augustine C. Fire, the state is already within the courtroom. Please leave a comment. Let us know the quality of the audio. We do see Representative Cooper is outside of the court in some short conversation. I think we're hearing one of our guards requesting for the vehicle. Now Councillor Bobby Kalando is out, and let's see if he can give us a few words. But she's out, and they apart from Representative DB, Representative Kofa didn't speak, and Representative Cooper has not spoken to us as to where they headed to. She's entering the cafeteria for the second time, and her vehicle has been pulled up here. So please, for our own technical adjustment and purposes, do let us know the quality of the audio, so that if it needs to be tweaked, we can do that as well. The weather forecast here is a bit gloomy. It's not a sunny day. I can tell you that for sure. It's not sunny. It's a bit gloomy. We had drizzles earlier this morning. In terms of the presence of law enforcement, it has been de-escalated to a very large extent. Yesterday we would have seen a lot of police officers dressed in riot gears, forming lines and different formations here, but today is quite the contrast. The entry regimen and protocol is not as tense as possible. There has been a de-escalation in the pressure, the tense that we witnessed a number of days ago. It is now just preliminary hearing or evidence examination, if you want to call it that way. Please let us know the quality of the audio. We'll continue to bring you updates. We will be bringing you updates from within the court once the preliminary hearing is underway. We see the defense counsel, one of the counsels, Councillor Masakwe, is still outside as to when this process will begin. We also saw Representative Priscilla Cooper exit the court for the second time, and whether or not she'll be leaving the grounds of the Temple of Justice, we just seen her vehicle making U-turns, and there she is. She is going towards her vehicle. Let's see if we can try to get a few words again, if she can speak to us. Representative Cooper, have you been asked to leave, or are you going to be back, ma'am? Yes, ma'am. Are you leaving, or you will be back?
With my lawyer, because the case is now before the judge. I can say nothing after, us having.
Okay, all right. So there you have it. Representative Cooper have said we should speak to her lawyer, Councillor Kalando, but she reserves all comments, and she has boarded her vehicle and is either poised to leave the grounds of the Temple of Justice. So we'll do just that. We want to speak to okay, we see Representative Dixon Cibo is walking alone, and he's walking towards us. Cibo, why are you moving along, sir?
No, I'm a regular guy. Don't worry about that.
So he's coming to represent his Cooper. They are exchanging hugs. So some tete-a-tete conversation. Cibo, you say you're a regular guy, so you have come alone.
Yeah,
What do you have to say about the process?
the process is on.
Representative Kofa
Guys,
said you
when you are in court, you don't make comments on cases, and that's the best I can tell you. What do you mean? Because we are in court, you don't make comment on the court process. We're going to be exonerated. We are here to make sure that justice is served.
What about, since we're not talking about the court, let's talk about South Beach for a bit. And what did you experience?
No. South Beach, prisons are there for humans. And we had a nice time in South Beach. It was good being with the inmates, and we were common prisoners, and we appreciate the fact that we were our colleagues, and that's it.
Has it changed your perspective in terms of support for that place? Do you think there needs to be?
No, it has not. Because when you begin to say that, it means that you are not catering to the people. I appreciate the fact that I was there, and I enjoy it, and I anticipate that we could be there again.
You look at
What is VIP?
like you got mattress and all of that. You got? Did you get provision? But other regular inmates don't get mattresses as such. You went with. You came back with a different clothes as compared to what you went with. So that means you get anything else.
Every prisoner can receive clothes. So again, we're good.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So, Representative Dixon Cibo trying his best to downplay the condition at the Monrovia Central Prison, but did say he enjoyed himself. So Abu Kamara is the only absent lawmaker for now in terms of who having appeared here at the court. Priscilla Cooper has gone out, but we do see that Dixon Cibo has arrived. He joins Representative DB, Representative Kofa in there as well. So concerning his condition at South Beach, he said they had a nice time, speaking to preferential treatment and all of that. He said making a comment as such would mean that they've not been catering to the condition of inmates and the general condition there at the Monrovia Central Prison. So folks, this is the preliminary hearing or evidence examination in the case involving 5 representatives who have been charged with several crimes, including arson, criminal conspiracy, criminal attempt to commit murder, criminal facilitation, reckless endangerment as well. So we will remain posted, and we'll keep asking you based on the fact that we want to give you the best in terms of audio and visual quality. Please let us know the quality of the audio. Please do that for us by leaving a comment as we provide to you commentary and analysis on what is unfolding here at the grounds of the Temple of Justice. My name is Diamond Slanger, and in the Monrovia City Court now you have representatives Dixon Cibo, Jacob DB, and former Speaker J. Fonati Kofa. Police presence is not tense in terms of we cannot see the presence of riot police. You know, we have not seen the chanting of battle cries and the rest. There are onlookers. Unarguably, some people have come to show support. Others have come because they've got their own legal matters here at the Temple of Justice. But the attention is here at the Monrovia City Court. We have 3 sitting lawmakers currently in court One has departed. The condition of her departure, she didn't say, but advised that we speak to her lawyer. And one has not yet shown up in terms of Representative Abu Bana Kamara. The Spoon Network, we are here at the grounds of the Temple of Justice. It is not tense in terms of confrontation or police presence, but the preliminary hearing, once we get updates from Melvin, who's within the court for us, who will tell you whether it's underway or not. So keep us updated on the quality of the audio. Thank you so much for your comments. From what we've been reading, the sound is good. So let's go to what does the law say concerning these charges. What are the sentences associated with these charges? We see CDC Chairman Janga Ko is here right before the city court. Good morning to you, Chairman. How are you?
Good. How is your health now since you and the police clashed the other day? Are you well?
I don't think it was a clash. It was a one-sided attack, an assault. So it was not a clash.
So, we see you here this morning. What's unfolding as it relates to this entire case?
Well, the case has started as preliminary examination of the case.
As a lawyer, as you are, Councilor, why is it important to have evidence examination or preliminary hearing? Why is it that the defendants are so keen on making sure that this happens?
So preliminary examination basically will provide an opportunity for the judge to hear what evidence that the state has against those that are accused of these grave offenses. So hopefully, we hope the case will collapse at the preliminary examination level.
That's why
the case is actually a bogus case. It's a manufactured case. So we are very, very hopeful and confident that the case will collapse at this stage of preliminary
Anthony Cole, in these instances, the defense is also furnished with evidence that the prosecution will produce. Have you been privy to see what those pieces of evidence are? And if so, are they strong enough to see, a full trial?
That's the process. The first witness is on the stands now. Yeah, so that's the process. Thank you. Yeah.
Just 1 minute to think about your statement referring to the case being a manufactured case. What do you mean in that context?
Because it's trumped up. Even the police actually said it's a political case. There's no case called political case. So saying that, it means the case is bogus. It means the case is politically motivated.
Councilor Cole, can you speak to some grapevine information that we gathered that there were backroom diplomatic calls made that made the CDC not to put people out because you were given assurances that those lawmakers would have been released on yesterday? Was there anything? Was the CDC reached out to, or you just decided not to do so?
Definitely, because the way the government has been proceeding, and that's why you saw the involvement of President Weah, the former president of Liberia. And so, yes, we have gotten assurances that people who are being deborn, who have been accepted, because the government is actually trying to manipulate the legal process by even preventing insurance companies from issuing bonds, which have been the tradition and the practice in this jurisdiction. So that tells you that the government is trying to weaponize the judiciary, which is not good for our democracy. See, in criminal proceedings, the issue of bond is a constitutionally guaranteed right to all defendants, and it should not even be set excessively.
So who gave those assurances before the CDC decided? You said you were given assurances. So when did those assurances come
all the indications we got that the government will have complied. The government will have complied with to make sure that these people are really with the government. So that's why you saw President Weah here early in the morning, and we were given assurances the defendants didn't even come to court; they were released. Okay. So yeah, thank you.
All right. So there you have it. The chairman of the CDC. So this one of the defense counsels has also arrived and making her way into court, escorted by Councillor Masakwe. So you listen to Anthony Cole, who said the first witness is on the stand. So the state has produced its first key witness, and the judge is going to listen to what that witness has got to say. All right, so what we can give you from the court is what updates we can give you is that and it is not. So the update that we can give you from the court is that the defense of Representative Cooper has waived its right to preliminary hearing. That is why she left. So what we can tell you is her defense, that is Councillor George Kalando, has waived her right to preliminary hearing. So they will be proceeding to trial. So meaning she is standing alone. So she's going to have a separate trial. So she's going to have a different legal representation as well. So the first witness on the stands, as said by Anthony Cole, the chairman of the CDC, and has been corroborated by our in-house reporter, is one Peter Johnson. So one Peter Johnson is the first witness on the stands now. So I'm inquiring to know what is his role or proximity, what is his title, and I'll give you that information. So this is the preliminary hearing of the Capital 4, no more Capital 5 as of this moment, because Representative Priscilla Cooper, her defense has waived her right to preliminary hearing, meaning they want to proceed straight to court. They believe that the state has got enough evidence to have a case, and they are proceeding to the formal trial. But the other 4 representatives, namely Abu Kamara, Dixon Cibo, Jacob DB II, and that of former House Speaker Fanati Kofa, have not waived their right to preliminary hearing. That's why they're in the Monrovia City Court, and we will be giving you information. It will be sometimes delayed because of the process, but we'll be doing our best to give you what is unfolding in the Monrovia City Court. So the first witness is on the stand as we speak, and the name of that witness is Peter Johnson. As to who is Peter Johnson, what's his role, what's his involvement, why is he a witness? He's a chief inspector of the Liberia National Police. So Chief Inspector Peter Johnson is the state's first witness. He's on the stand. Remember, this is preliminary hearing or evidence examination. This is where the judge is going to decide whether there is enough evidence for these charges to be maintained on these accused, and subsequently a formal trial begin. That is, the Monrovia City Court will transfer the matter to Criminal Court A. So Peter Johnson, who is a chief inspector of the Liberia National Police, is on the witness stand as we speak. As to how many witnesses the prosecution or the state is going to produce, we cannot speak to that as of the moment. As to what other material or digital evidence, physical evidence, forensic, the state is going to adduce before the judge to convince the judge that there is enough for a formal trial to proceed, we cannot speak to that as well. All right, so what we can tell you is that Peter Johnson has also alleged that Representative Dixon Cibo is the chief organizer of the December 18 Capitol Arson attack. So Chief Inspector Peter Johnson of the Liberia National Police has said in open court that Representative Dixon Cibo, who walked past us and said that he's an ordinary guy, that he doesn't need bodyguards to accompany him here to the court grounds, is alleged by the Chief Inspector of the Liberia National Police, Peter Johnson, to be the chief organizer, that is the main conspirator of what happened at the grounds of the Capitol. So let me take a short breather. I'll be back for a minute. Let's see if we can get you some more information as well. Alright folks, needed to take that little breather also to do some readjustments of our angle and to keep bringing you the live events as they unfold from within the Monrovia City Court. So what we can tell you is, as of the moment, the state has produced its first witness, and that witness is Chief Inspector of the Liberia National Police, Peter Johnson. So according to Peter Johnson, Representative Dixon Cibo is allegedly the chief organizer, the planner of what happened at the grounds of the Capitol building that fateful December 18th morning. So what we can also tell you is that Representative Priscilla Cooper has waived her right to preliminary hearing or evidence examination. So she and her legal counsel have waived her right to that as well. So she has left the grounds of the Capitol. When she exited the courtroom, we tried to question her. She said, "Look guys, speak to my legal counsel. I cannot be speaking to this matter as of now." So in the Monrovia City Court is former Speaker Jonathan Fanati Kofa, Representative Dixon Cibo, and that of Representative Jacob Db. Those three lawmakers are in the Monrovia City Court, and absent is Monserrado County District number 15 Representative Abu Bana Kamara. So on the stand is Chief Inspector Peter Johnson of the Liberia National Police, and he has alleged that Representative Dixon Cibo is the chief organizer of the arson attack on the Capitol. Remember, this is preliminary hearing. This is evidence examination. From what will be produced in open court today, what pieces of evidence that will be produced, what will key witnesses say, and what will be the defense strategy, we will see. Okay, talking about Abu Kamara, he is here. It's like he walked on his name. There we have it. Representative Abu Kamara has arrived here at the grounds of the Temple of Justice. There he is, wearing blue. Hey, Kamara, good morning, sir.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good. How are you, sir?
Blessed.
How was the prison?
Well, prison for him, so there's nothing to talk about it.
We get information that you're very well aligned with your prison. How is that?
Yeah, that's what I get from my doctor. Was doing my physical therapy and every stuff. That's why I'm a little bit late, but I'm okay.
You're okay now?
By His grace, yes, I'm feeling better.
Deconstructing, are you anticipating that this will be thrown out today based on the fact that Representative Kofa said you would deconstruct everything?
Like he said, yes, I'm in support of what he said. Whatever Councilor Kofa have said, that's what it is.
Okay, sir.
It is what it is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
There you have it, Representative Abu Kamara. So 4 out of 4 now within the Monrovia City Court. 4 out of 4 now within the Monrovia City Court as we speak. He did confirm that he wasn't well while at the Monrovia Central Prison. He confirmed that, but said he's just from his medical checkup and he's okay by the grace of God. He made his way a bit labored into the courtroom. That makes it 4 out of 4. As we said earlier, Representative Cooper and her defense waived her right to preliminary hearing or evidence examination. So they have said by their action and by waiving their rights that they do believe that there is enough evidence to go to trial, and they want to defend themselves in open court, formal trial, and not preliminary hearing. So in essence, they've said to the prosecution, bring it on. If you think you've got enough, bring it on, and let's meet in open court when this case goes to a formal trial. But for that of the other 4 defendants, the former speaker, Dixon Cibo, Abu Kamara, and Jacob DB, they've said there isn't enough. What you've trumped up are all bogus charges, and we will defeat you right here at the preliminary hearing, and hence they prayed the court for preliminary hearing or evidence examination. Let's see if we can go back into the courtroom and see what other updates that we have for you. Let's see what other update that we have for you. So according to Chief Inspector Peter Johnson of the LNP, he has further alleged that Representative Kofa is one of the financiers of the burning of the Joint Chamber of the Capitol. Peter Johnson, the state's first witness, has said that he has alleged that Dixon Cibo was the main organizer of what unfolded up Capitol Hill. He's also now alleging that former Speaker J. Fonati Kofa is the financier, one of the financiers of what happened up on Capitol Hill. Remember, it is not just witnesses' accounts. This is a court of competent jurisdiction. You must come with evidence to corroborate what you're saying as a witness. And our interest and the interest of so many others is based on what pieces of evidence has the state got. How did they get those pieces of evidence? What key witnesses, in terms of either expert witnesses or witnesses who were somewhat involved with the process? Because you're talking about a conspiracy. And to prove a conspiracy, meaning 1 or 2 persons or more conspired, they sat down, they hashed a plan, they finalized the plan, they got the muscles to carry out their plan. That is a conspiracy. Attempted murder, meaning they didn't only conspire to burn down the Capitol building. In their conspiracy also was an attempt to have murdered those who would have been inhabitants of the Capitol as of the time it happened, or those who would have gone to fight the fire. If a fireman had died, if someone who was attempting to help in quenching the fire had died, that is where the attempted murder charges come in. The criminal facilitation, that is, the state is alleging that they didn't only conspire, they facilitated, they provided finances allegedly, they provided the means allegedly, and they provided the how allegedly for this to happen. So remember, this is a criminal case, and it must be proven beyond all reasonable doubt. In this modern day and age, there is forensic evidence, there is digital evidence, there is physical evidence, there is eyewitnesses accounts. So all of what we'll see produced is going to determine whether or not we'll have a formal trial, or, as stated by Representative Cibo, Representative Kamara, that it is all trumped up, it is all politically motivated, and the judge is going to see that, well, there is nothing enough, there isn't probable cause to have a formal trial. Or we might see one of the 3 outcomes. In a preliminary hearing or an evidence examination hearing, there can only be one of 3 outcomes. Outcome number 1, that the charges will be dismissed, dropped and dismissed. Outcome number 2, that the charges will be reduced. There will be a reduction in the charges based on the evidence. The judge might say, I can see arson here on these individuals from what you've produced, but I do see conspiracy. I do see facilitation. I do not see attempted murder. Or we might see the charges upheld and a formal trial proceeding to a court that has got jurisdiction over the matter. But let's see if we can go back to the court and see what other updates we can get from our sources within the Monrovia City Court. So the time here in Liberia is 3 minutes after 11 a.m. Preliminary hearing got on the way at about 10 a.m. this morning. The actors, the last of the actors or the accused to arrive is that of Representative Abu Kamara of District number 15, and his reason for arriving late was due to medical visitation or a doctor's appointment. According to him, he had to go and see his doctor. He said whilst he was in South Beach, he wasn't well. Asked about the condition of the prison. He said, well, prison is for humans. Representative Cibo did say that he cannot speak as to the condition of the place because it means that they're not working for their people. Said again that prison is for humans, but he enjoyed his stay. As to whether or not they had preferential treatment, he said, well, he can't speak to that, but they did enjoy their stay, and he's anticipating that they might just return to the Monrovia Central Prison. Whether the bond will be challenged and the bond will be, rendered as defective, we haven't got into that aspect yet. Whether or not after full trial, the former trial, they might be found guilty. We're far from that. We're still at the preliminary stage. And if you're wondering, how did we get here? It all started on the 18th of December 2024. That bright morning, blue skies, sun scorching in the air. We were called that the rotunda of the Capitol building was beaming and oozing with smoke. Got on the scene and saw raging flames bursting through windows, glasses clattering and falling apart. The flames, the intensity of the flames was enough to have sucked out the oxygen from your body. As one of the first two journalists on the scene, I felt and saw firsthand the damage that was being done. The intensity, walls were cracking and falling and caving in. Stairs were cracking, you could hear the sound. Fire, you could hear the sparkling and crackling of wood and the rest. It was an intense flame. It took the Liberia National Fire Service and the intervention of the LPRC and other private institutions hours to be able to quench the fire. The capital arson, that is now termed as a capital arson attack, also showed the deficiencies in our fire service system. The response time was slow. It was poor for such a major infrastructure. With access to the capital being so easy, one wondered why it took so long for the Liberia National Fire Service to have responded. And when they did, it showed again their lapses and deficiency. The hose carrying water to the targeted area lacked power. We saw them struggle and struggle and struggle and struggle again. It raised the question, what about CCTV cameras? How protected are these public facilities? And what can we do to improve? Hours later, the President of the Republic of Liberia, His Excellency Joseph Boakai, appeared on the scene, and all of this was during the height of a speakership fight, a very tense speakership fight. Now, from all of what has unfolded up to today, we have 5 lawmakers, including one Speaker of the House of Representatives, in court now facing preliminary hearing. All right, so back into the courtroom. Let's see what more updates we've got for you. According to Chief Inspector Peter Johnson, who is still on the witness stand, have said that defendant Kofa acted and played a major role in the burning of the Capitol, and so that he was charged with criminal conspiracy and arson. So according to Chief Inspector Peter Johnson, defendant Fonati Kofa, the former House Speaker, allegedly played a very major role in the burning of the Capitol. He labeled him as one of the financiers. Chief Inspector Peter Johnson also earlier labeled and alleged that Representative Dixon Cibo was the main organizer of the Capitol Inferno, the arson attack on the Capitol. So I take a step back from the camera and try to give you more updates as we can get from the court. Diamond Slanger is my name, from a less manned Capitol Temple of Justice. The preliminary hearing or evidence examination involving the Capitol 5, but now the Capitol 4 is on the way. We'll mute the audio for a minute so that we can get more updates for you and to share with you as well. But if you're just joining us, this is a recap of the major unfoldings that has happened here thus far. Representative Priscilla Cooper has waived her right to preliminary hearing. She departed. Representative Priscilla Cooper is going to have a separate trial from the other 4 defendants that we can confirm. The state has got on the stand its first witness. He's going through questioning from the state before he will be cross-examined by defense lawyers. that witness is Chief Inspector of the Liberia National Police, Peter Johnson, who has alleged that Representative Dixon Cibo was the chief organizer of the arson attack on the Capitol building. He has also alleged that Representative Kofa was one of the financiers of the Capitol arson attack. In his allegations against the former speaker, he has alleged again that defendant Kofa acted and played a major role in the burning of the Capitol, and that is why he was charged with criminal conspiracy and arson. With those updates for now, we'll take a pause to gather more information, and I'll be back to provide you more information as I can get. Alright folks, we're still live here at the grounds of the Temple of Justice, trying to get you more information from within the Monrovia City Court as preliminary hearing is underway. The case involving 5 lawmakers, 4 of whom are currently in court, and one in person of Representative Priscilla Cooper has waived her right to preliminary hearing and has also requested a separate trial from these 4 other lawmakers as well. So from within the Monrovia City Court, what we can tell you is Chief Inspector Peter Johnson is still on the witness stand. He has also alleged that Representative Cibo, Representative Kamar were on the same vehicle attending to a call to Representative Kofa. And when he heard all of the conversation, Representative Kofa heard all of the conversation between Representative Kamar and Representative Cibo, but chose to be quiet, and that is criminal conspiracy. So from what we have been told is that the Chief Inspector of the Liberia National Police is alleging that Representative Kamar and Cibo were on board the same vehicle when they called the former House Speaker, and he listened to their conversation. He knew and heard what they were planning, but he chose to remain quiet, and that surmounts to criminal conspiracy. So that is what we're hearing from the court. We will continue to provide you updates. We do see the former Solicitor General, Sema Serena Sifas. We want to see if we can speak to him on this matter. As former SG, if he was in the pole position now to prosecute on behalf of the Republic of Liberia, what would he have done differently? How does he see the investigation, the time span of the investigation, the charges as well? He's in conversation with the chairman of the CDC and one of the defense lawyers, Councilor Masakwe, and they're having a private conversation about want to see whether or not the former Solicitor General will speak to us concerning what is happening here within the Monrovia City Court. My name is Diamond Slanger. The time here is 40 minutes after 11, and we'll see whether we can engage the former SG. So what is happening is evidence examination preliminary. About 2 minutes one. So he has declined to speak to us. We asked for 2 minutes of his time. He said no. We reduced the time to a minute, and he still said no. He is not going to speak to us. We respect that. That is his right to speak or not to, and he has chosen not to speak. So the preliminary hearing or evidence examination is still ongoing. Let's see if we can get more updates from the court for you. On the stand currently is Chief Inspector Peter Johnson of the Liberia National Police, and so far recounting what he has said on the stand is that one, the Chief Inspector of the LNP has alleged that Representative Dixon Cibo is the chief organizer of the capital arson attack. Chief Inspector Peter Johnson also alleged that former Speaker J. Fonati Kofa was one of the chief financiers, and he acted and played a major role allegedly in the burning of the capital. Chief Inspector Peter Johnson has also alleged that Representative Cibo and Kamar were on board the same vehicle when they placed a call, or they were in a conversation with Representative Kofa at the time embattled Speaker, and he heard their conversation. He knew what they were planning, and he chose to have said nothing. So by such, that constitutes criminal conspiracy as to why the former Speaker has been charged with arson. He also said that because the former Speaker allegedly played a major role and allegedly financed the operation as one of the money hands, one of the money people who sent money allegedly towards that operation. So subsequently, he was charged with arson. So this is preliminary hearing. If you're just joining us, this is not the formal or full trial. This is where lawyers representing the state, prosecutors, will produce before court or adduce before court evidence that they have, irrefutable evidence, substantial evidence, and produce key witness or witnesses to convince a judge that there is probable cause for this case to proceed to formal trial. This is where defense attorneys or defense lawyers are going to poke holes in statements or testimonies given by witnesses produced by the state, and poke holes into the credibility and the authenticity of evidence, the legality of evidence produced by the state. So in this particular stage now of our criminal justice proceeding is where either charges can be upheld, charges can be amended, or charges can be dropped. So based on what the ruling of the judges after arguments and pieces of evidence and witnesses are produced, we might just see these four lawmakers go into a formal trial, or we might see the charges against these 4 lawmakers after the judge has reviewed and having listened to arguments and reviewed the evidence and ruled to say, well, these charges cannot be sustained by the evidence, so they can either be reduced, amended, or they could be dropped. Remember, the state had earlier yesterday prayed court that there be no preliminary hearing or evidence examination based on the fact that Thomas Edridge and Eric Susay had preliminary hearing, and the court ruled that there was enough to go to court. So since the former speaker and 4 other lawmakers are only being added and identified now, previously as others to be identified, but since they've been identified, the charges remain, and the evidence produced during that preliminary hearing of Thomas Edridge and Eric Susay can be used, and there shouldn't have been preliminary hearing or evidence examination. The state lost that particular battle. The judge ruled that there should be evidence examination or preliminary hearing, which is a right of defendants, and hence we have that stage ongoing now. Let's see what next. So the police, through Chief Inspector Peter Johnson, have said that they've held accountable former Speaker Fanati Kofa based on a Facebook post that talks about Alamu. Remember the post made by the former speaker, where he later deleted that post, said Alamu, in Texas, referencing the Texas resistance. The police have said that based on that post as well, and what preceded the post, they have now, charged him with arson, criminal conspiracy, criminal facilitation, attempted murder, reckless endangerment, which is a misdemeanor as well. So more updates from the court will be providing to you, and we'll be providing to you information as we get them from our correspondents and sources within the Monrovia City Court. If you're wondering how's the ground here this morning at the Temple of Justice, it is not tense, it is not crowded in terms of people. There are attendees, some of whom are supporters, like the chairman of the CDC, Jangako, who has left the lenses of our cameras. But there are those even on the grounds of the Capitol that are looking over. They've got a vantage point because they're a bit higher on top of the hill. They can look down here on the grounds of the Temple of Justice. There's also the presence of the media. This is a national case, and there is a media frenzy as well. So we've got media practitioners representing diverse media institutions also present here. But on behalf of the Spoon Network, my name is Diamond Slanger. I'm here providing you analysis, commentary on the evidence examination of preliminary hearing. There's the CDC chairman again. He has exited the court. He's in and out on the phone. He said these charges are all trumped up, they're political, and they will be dismissed right at this stage. So more updates or a recap of updates. The police have said the post by former House Speaker J. Fanati Kofa, the post with Alamu, that post was also used in them charging him. They've also said that conspiracy is based on the fact that he was in a phone conversation with Representative Kamar and Cibo, and they were planning and conspiring as to what to do. He heard everything and chose to do nothing. That in itself amounts to conspiracy. In terms of arson, as to why he was charged with arson, Chief Inspector Peter Johnson has said that because he's allegedly one of the financiers and actors, he played a major role allegedly, so they charged him with arson as well. Chief Inspector Peter Johnson earlier alleged that Representative Dixon Cibo was the main actor or the main organizer, according to his words, of the December 18th Capitol arson attack. The state still has got its first witness on the stand. He's going through examination from state lawyers. He has not yet gone through cross-examination. Once cross-examination from the defense begins, we will know what questions the defense will be asking and what will be the responses from the Chief Inspector of the Liberia National Police, Peter Johnson. Let's now look at what these charges are, what sections of the Liberia Penal Code, what are the sentences associated with these charges. So under the penal law or the Penal Code of Liberia, arson is section 15.1. Section 15.1, arson is classified as a second-degree felony, punishable by imprisonment depending on the extent of the damage. We see Representative Matthew Joe, Grand Bassa County. Representative Matthew Fairplay Joe is also making his way in court here in solidarity with his fellow members of the House of Representatives who have been charged with several crimes by the Republic. Criminal conspiracy, section 10.4, is punishable by the same penalty, that is imprisonment, as of the most serious offense committed through the conspiracy. So if arson was the most serious offense committed through a conspiracy, it carries the same prison sentence as arson. Criminal facilitation, section 10.2, is punishable by a lesser sentence than the principal offense. Criminal attempt to commit murder, section 10.1, is treated as a felony with penalties approaching those who completed murder. So arson, according to our jurisprudence, according to our law, arson is punishable to up to 10 years in prison, depending on the severity and intent. So these lawmakers, once if this case goes to trial and they found guilty, arson carries up to 10 years in prison, depending on the severity and intent. Criminal conspiracy sentences vary based upon the underlying crime, but can range from 1 to 5 years. Criminal facilitation typically carries a sentence up to 3 years, depending on the level of your involvement. Criminal attempt to commit murder can result to up to life imprisonment, depending on the circumstances. So under Liberian law, reckless endangerment is typically classified as a misdemeanor and can carry a sentence up to 1 year in prison or a fine, depending on the severity of the offense. So those are just updates to let you know as to what are the sentences associated with these charges. The sentences alone underline the grave nature of these charges that have been slapped on these lawmakers, and hence we have in preliminary hearing. And why is it important to have preliminary hearing? You listen to the chairman of the CDC, Anthony Njanga-Ko, underlining why is it important. It's allowed within the Liberian jurisdiction. Preliminary hearing or evidence examination, it serves as the initial judicial review to determine whether or not there is enough evidence to proceed with a trial. And the purposes of such is, one, to establish probable cause. That is number one. When you are accused or you are charged with crimes, criminal charges, you have the right to a preliminary hearing to appear before a judge and establish whether or not there is probable cause it gives for the assessment. The court will evaluate as is what is happening now, and whether there is sufficient evidence to justify moving forward with former charges. Also, it protects against unjust prosecution. So if you have a preliminary trial or a pre-trial hearing or an evidence examination trial, and it is adjudged, it is ruled by the judge that, look, there isn't enough, it protects you from going to a formal trial and from being wrongfully prosecuted without credible evidence. It's also a period to review evidence. It allows both the prosecution and the defense to examine the strength of the case before trial. Witness testimony, as we get in from the court now. Key witnesses are brought in to help the judge to assess the credibility of their claims as well. It could lead to the dismissal of these charges. Having listened to the arguments and the evidence, the pieces of evidence adduced before a judge, it could lead to the dismissal. It could lead to a charges reduction, or it could lead to a formal trial. But let's go back to the courtroom and see what we can get for you as well. So the investigator, the chief inspector of the Liberia National Police, Peter Johnson, has said that they've got an audio from an open source, and Representative Kofa identified, he recognized his voice, but said he could not remember discussing any of such. So this was said during interrogation of the former House Speaker, J. Fonati Kofa, according to the chief inspector, that Representative Kofa, listening to an audio that the police have said that they got from credible sources. I do see Representative Dixon Cibo, one of the accused, is in conversation now with the chairman of the CDC. So we'll keep our camera panned and focus on them, and we'll be providing you what we're getting from the court. So according to Chief Inspector Peter Johnson, they got an audio from an open source, and Representative Kofa, listening to the audio, recognized his voice, but said he could not remember discussing anything of such. While Representative Abu Kamara and the rest said the audio was AI generated. So in getting the phone that contained the recording, and as best past practice, they wrote the office of the county attorney for a writ of search and seizure. So now the prosecution is speaking to the legitimacy and admissibility of their evidence. The fact that they said that they were able to have gotten a search and seizure warrant from the county attorney, they are speaking to the fact that if they got search and seizure to be able to have searched the phone that allegedly or reportedly contained the evidence, the audio recording that has got the voice of Representative Abu Kamara, Representative Dixon Cibo, and Representative J. Fonati Kofa, they're speaking to the admissibility and the legality of their evidence. And according to the chief inspector, who's still being examined by the prosecution, he's not yet facing cross-examination from defense lawyers. The state is still questioning their own witness as of the moment we're giving you this update. So according to Chief Inspector Peter Johnson, when investigators through their interrogation asked the former House Speaker about an audio that they claim to have gotten from an open source that reportedly had his voice or allegedly had a phone conversation, the former House Speaker said yes, he recognized his voice, but couldn't remember discussing anything as such. And concerning the same audio, the response from Representative Abu Kamara and others is that the audio was gotten through artificial intelligence, what is known as AI, that it was an AI generated audio. As to how they got the audio, the chief inspector have said that they wrote the county attorney office to get a search and seizure, which should be granted by a judge. We're waiting to see whether the search and seizure was granted by a judge. But they're saying that they did write the county attorney to get a search and seizure warrant, and that is how they were able to have gotten the audio out of the phone that reportedly contained that audio message. So as we get more updates, we will be sharing with you. But we do see Representative Matthew Fairplay Joe is outside of the court. He is in conversation with CDC Chairman Janka Ko, and Representative Dixon Cibo has gone back within the Monrovia City Court. So folks, we're still here providing you coverage from right before the Monrovia City Court. Chief Inspector Peter Johnson is still on the witness stand providing testimony, and he has not yet been cross-examined by the defense counsel. What updates we can give you is that Representative Priscilla Cooper has waived her right to pre-trial. She has waived her right to pre-trial proceedings, and so she and her legal team will be going straight to trial. She has also prayed and been granted a separate trial from the other 4 representatives. So the other 4 will continue. They are Representative Dixon Cibo, Representative Abu Kamar, Representative J. Fanati Kofa, and Representative Jacob DB II of Grand Jida County. So the state is establishing the legality and admissibility of their audio recording. They said the recording was gotten through a search and seizure warrant that they got through writing the county attorney's office, and they got a search and seizure that resulted in them uncovering an audio. In that audio, the state have said reportedly the voices of Representative J. Fanati Kofa, Representative Dixon Cibo, and Representative Abu Kamara are reportedly or allegedly heard in a conversation, and the state said, according to the chief inspector during their interrogation, Representative Kofa was confronted with the audio. He did admit that he recognized the voice as being his, but couldn't pinpoint, but said he didn't remember having such a conversation. Representatives Kamara and Cibo and others said the audio, according to the investigator, understand that the audio was AI generated. So 2 different answers to that particular recording, according to the state, as to why the former speaker has been charged with arson. According to Chief Inspector Peter Johnson, the former speaker J. Fanati Kofa allegedly played a major role and acted in a major capacity and allegedly provided finances to the capital arson attack operation. And as to why he was charged with conspiracy, according to the police inspector, the chief inspector of the Liberia National Police, Peter Johnson, because the former speaker was heard in a conversation allegedly with co-conspirators and did say nothing to avert the situation. He has since been charged with conspiracy. All right, folks, we still out here trying to give you information as it's unfolding, the happenings within the Monrovia City Court. So now we have an objection from the defense. So defense lawyer have objected to the rate of search and seizure presented in court. The defense have objected based on grounds that the current 4 defendants' names are not on it. But the prosecution have said that the rate is authentic and it was issued from this court and it was used to link the 4 lawmakers to the audio that the phone was searched, that the search and seizure rate or warrant was issued by this court, that is legitimate, is authentic. But the defense has objected that the search and seizure did not contain the names of the four representatives, the 4 co-defendants that have been accused with several crimes. So just to repeat to you again that the lawyers representing Representative Priscilla Cooper have called for a separate and severance trial, as they have also waived their rights to preliminary examination or preliminary hearing. So the first objection from the defense is that the search and seizure rate did not mention the names of the 4 accused representatives, but the state lawyers have said that the rate is legitimate, is authentic, it was issued by the court. That search and seizure rate or warrant was used to search the phone that reportedly had the audio of that had reportedly the voices of Representative Kofa, Cibo, Kamar, and others. So because Representative Cooper waived her right to preliminary hearing or evidence examination, because she waived her right to that, only the 4 representatives, nameless former Speaker Kofa, Dixon Cibo, Abu Kamara, and Jacob DB, are currently in court for pre-trial hearing or evidence examination that is currently ongoing. So it's not the time for the defense lawyers to cross-examine the witness on the stand. It's not the time for the defense lawyers to cross-examine the witness on the stand, and that witness is Chief Inspector of the Liberia National Police, Peter Johnson. So it's not time for cross-examination, and we'll be interested in what questions the defense will be asking the Chief Inspector, who had just provided testimony as to why these lawmakers have been charged with such crimes. So the first question we want to know from the cross-examination, we'll be bringing you in all of that information as it unfolds. All of the happening is ongoing in the Monrovia City Court. There's quiet here. There isn't the chanting of battle cries. There isn't the presence of state security as we did see on yesterday. We don't see the police officers in their torture suit, as it's called, their riot gears, their protective gears. We don't see them with sticks. We don't see them forming lines as they did yesterday. It is access granted as compared and contrasting to yesterday as well. So the defense is now cross-examining the state witness, and whatever updates we get from the cross-examination, we will be sharing with you as well. And from what I can see, the chairman of the CDC, Anthony Jangako, is still outside. He's also outside with Representative Matthew Joe, who we see have left the side of the CDC chairman. As to whether he's leaving, we cannot speak to that as well. If you're wondering if Representative Priscilla Cooper is present, she's not. She arrived earlier on. She and her legal counsel waived her right to preliminary hearing or evidence examination. They asked and prayed for separate or severance trial. That was granted. So she's not in court today as we speak. They will be waiting for the... So we see the Solicitor General has exited the court. Augustine Fire is the Solicitor General of the Republic of Liberia. He has exited the court, and the defense is cross-examining the state witness in person of Chief Inspector Peter Johnson. So once we get the questions from the defense as the cross-examining the witness, we will tell you the question and the response of the witness as well. We'll tell you the question and the response of the witness as well. This is a basic ground, so we will be doing our possible best to get you the significant movements here on the ground, but do be aware that there will be some unintentional crossings in front of our camera, as this is a basic ground. People are moving about their daily activities. We're trying to get the best uninterrupted angle as possible, but wherein there are interruptions or movements before our camera, well, do be aware that this is a basic ground, this is a court ground, and people have come here for so many reasons other than the ongoing case involving 4 lawmakers as of the moment. They've been called the Capital 5, but right now the Capital 4 are currently in court, and the first state witness is now being cross-examined. We will take a short pause in terms of the audio. We need to get you some updates. We will be live with the video as we try to get you more updates from in open court. Melvin Jackson is exiting the court. We'll see if we can speak with him briefly to give us updates. Melvin, you just before the camera, so just remain as you are. And you just from within the court, can you bring us up to speed with what unfolded, the questions, the responses, who was on the witness stand, and the 4 9 yards, and why are you exiting? That's my first question to you.
Yeah, so the court called for a break to print out the first meaning, which is the direct of the witness, and they should be all the lawyers so that it will bring that back and forth. Or you ask the question, you didn't ask the question, so they try to print it out for a part before it comes to the cross. So then after this aspect, before the defense team will proceed with that questioning. But one of the questions I was just asked by the defense team, and that was being objected to, but then the judge later on sustained it, is you told us that the role of these different lawmakers is that they did not take fire to set it on the Capitol building, but rather the only facilitated individuals that they did the financing aspect of it. So that was being objected to, but later on the judge denied the objections and to the defendant answer that part. So it is on hold now. But then like I've been sending you all the updates, Damo. So there are different rules according to the witness that these different lawmakers play. Now, for Kofa, he said he did the financing aspect of the entire process.
That is Chief Inspector Peter Johnson.
Peter Johnson, yes.
That as per their investigation,
exactly.
Allegedly
did the financing aspect of the entire process, because he recruited Eric Sisi, and Eric did he brought the other on board to carry on this process. Then for Jacob Didi or Diba, as you call him, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrongly. for Jacob, he said he was in the midst of Representative Cibo and Abu when they were discussing that we have the gas here, but then he did not participate, but rather being there and as a lawmaker and a Liberian citizen, he did not end the report search, but rather he sat there listening to the conversations and all that was discussed, and then that was how the whole as a facilitator of the crime, but he did not play any major part to say yes you did it, but the fact that you were in the midst of the gas where in all the debate conversations went on, and he would not report as a Liberian and a lawmaker, and this happened, so they hold him for that. And they also hold Kofa for his Alamu post that were made according to the witness. That post was being made after like few hours, and then we saw the Capitol building on fire. So for that reason,
the police are alleging that the post was
exactly.
That was telling us what would have happened.
Exactly. And then they also said they did a research and linked to some Asian parts of the war and how that statement brought so conflict and chaos and whatever. So for that reason, they hold him for that. And then they came to represent Abu Kamar, who they say he vehicle on road 15 was seen and used. And then he and Representative Dixie went to the Kofa, and Kofa was like, I then left for the president place and we had some discussion and other stuff, but then the witness could not tell which of the president, whether it's former President Weah or President Buakai, no.
Was he asked by
so now the face him will want have better clarity as to who the president. So Cibo, the witness described Cibo as the main architect of the entire situation. In fact, they said he facilitated one Johnson, who is a resident of the West Point belt, to have fled the country. He's not in the country right now. And then he brought on the other guy, one Kofa. He brought on Kofa and others, participant of this entire act. That caused this. So he's the means architect. He brought on all the idea. He did the recruitment process and other stuff. So Damo, that's it. We with the course. I know the course more time bring out some of the hidden things that
Let's talk a bit about the digital evidence, the audio.
So
because the state, from what you sent, the state was trying to establish legitimacy, legality, the authenticity of that audio.
Exactly.
What did they say using the legal process in getting that particular audio?
So the state said when they arrested the guys as person or suspect or person of interest, they brought them at the center of prison, or let's say headquarters. Later on, they wrote the county attorney, who is the police now investigator, wrote the county attorney, and then he later on wrote the code for a writ of search and seizure warrant. So that writ and search and seizure warrant was given to them, and then that was how they used it to seize the guy's phone and went to by using a technician. So the technician went to and then they saw all of the conversations, the chat, because the Kofa, according to them, he has a staff chat room, and in our staff chat room, there were the sort of conversation that says, Etrick has a phone. He currently in police custody, so we have to make sure that somebody go and release him. If not, they will get hold of all of our conversation according to what the state witness said, right? And then they said when the document was presented, which is a rate, the defense objected to it on grounds that Representative Abu, Representative Cibo, Representative Jacob, and Representative Kofa name were replaced on that document. So for that reason, it cannot be authentic to use them, but rather they should use it for the first batch of people who was brought. But then they still said it was the document that they used to get hold of the audio, and that audio show the fewer links that or connect the different lawmakers. So for that reason, you have to use the audio. And then according to the witness again, when we say Kofa recognized his voice to say, "Oh yeah, there is my voice," but then he said he could not recognize where that conversation was being held. So on that ground, they had some legal proceeding and other stuff, but then the document was being passed on by the judge.
So what about the other representatives who are allegedly heard in that audio that the state said they got from an open source from a search and see?
So well, say Abu Kamara, Cibo, and the others say it is not a force, and that the audio is AI generated, so they cannot pay heed to it and they cannot give it any further attention.
Okay, so Melvin, thank you for those beautiful points as you make your way back into the court. We do not want to be, lost for information, but as he said, the court has granted a break for the first portion of the minutes to be printed. That is the examination, and then we go to the cross-examination. So from what we have been able to gather so far from the objection of the defense team is that they are pushing a strategy that Arson cannot be pinned on these representatives if they didn't physically participate in setting fire to the Capitol. That if the state says all they can prove is that they conspire, then why should they be charged with arson? And we are sure that the defense is going to challenge the authenticity of the audio as to how it was gotten. What experts can prove that the audio is not AI generated and all of that. And those are things that will be done in formal trial once they go to court. Once this case is ruled upon by the judge that indeed preliminary hearing there is enough evidence to go to court, that there is enough to go to court, or we'll see that the charges will be amended, whether the defense is able to convince the judge and cross-examine witnesses and produce their own. That's the lawyer of Representative Cooper, George Calando, who prayed court for a severance trial for his client, and she has been granted a separate trial from these other 4 representatives, and they also waived their right to preliminary hearing. So they are waiting full trial, and they're not involved in this preliminary or evidence examination hearing here at the Monrovia City Court as well. So folks, this is where it is. This is just one of the initial stages in our criminal justice system. In allegations of crimes being committed, the defendant or defendants have got the right to pre-trial hearing. Priscilla Cooper, representative of District Number 5, waived that right and also prayed to have a separate trial for which she was granted that. As to when that trial will be, we cannot state. This is just the preliminary hearing as to what will be the ruling of the magistrate, the judge, if you want to call it that way. As to whether or not the charges or the evidence produced support the charges, and hence they should have a full trial, or whether or not the evidence produced, the eyewitnesses and key witnesses' testimony doesn't support the charges and they will be amended, some will be dropped, or whether or not we'll see in the ruling that all of the charges will be dropped and dismissed without prejudice. Three minutes to 12 midday. Here in Liberia, we have 4 sitting lawmakers currently in court on charges ranging from arson, criminal conspiracy, reckless endangerment, criminal facilitation, criminal attempt to commit murder. The state produced 1 key witness, Chief Inspector Peter Johnson, who outlined how they were able to have adduced evidence, what legal processes did they use to obtain those pieces of evidence based on their investigation and interrogation, why these lawmakers are charged with various crimes. At the end of the day, we find out what's the strategy of the defense doing cross-examination and what will be the final prayer to the court and what eventually will be the ruling of the judge here at the Monrovia City Court. We'll remain live once there is a resumption of the proceeding. We'll start to give you updates. But so far, we see Moba Molu, Chairman Emeritus of the CDC, has arrived. He's flanked by Representative Dixon Cibo, one of the accused. So he's making his way into open court. Remember, Chief Inspector Peter Johnson had labeled Representative Dixon Cibo as allegedly the main architect, the main organizer, the main planner of the December 18th Capitol arson attack. We take a pause, a breather, mute the audio for a minute or two, and we'll be right back. All right, folks. We're still live here at the grounds of the Temple of Justice, to be precise, at the Monrovia City Court, where the cross-examination of Chief Inspector of Police Peter Johnson is on the way. There was a break by the court due to the printing of the examination minutes. And now the second half, which is the cross-examination minutes, will be printed as cross-examination is ongoing. So we will bring you all of the unfoldings as we've been doing since this morning. What we can speak to is it is now a tense atmosphere here. The lawmakers didn't arrive as one unit. First to have arrived this morning was Representative Priscilla Cooper and her legal team, George Calando, who is still here on the grounds of the Temple of Justice. They prayed court for severance and separate trial. They were granted that. They also prayed court and waived their rights to preliminary hearing. That was granted as well. So meaning Representative Priscilla Cooper is not going to be having the same trial as Representative J. Fonati Kofa, Dixon Cibo, Abu Kamara, and Jacob Dibi. That is, if the judge rules that there should be a formal trial. Now, the state presented Chief Inspector of Police Peter Johnson as one of their key witnesses to speak to why these charges were leveled against these lawmakers. While on the stand during examination, Chief Inspector Johnson labeled Representative Dixon Cibo as allegedly So as I was saying before, I got a tip from one of our sources is that Chief Inspector Johnson labeled Representative Dixon Cibo as allegedly the mastermind, the architect, the puller of the strings in the capital arson case. Now, he also labeled Representative Fonati Kofa as the chief financier, allegedly, of the attack on the Capitol. Speaking to conspiracy and facilitation, said that the former House Speaker financed the operation, and his chat room, his employees' chat room, precipitated them seizing a phone. According to the Chief Inspector, they prayed court through the county attorney of Montserrat County to get a search and seizure warrant, which was granted by the court. And using that search and seizure warrant, they were able to have discovered an audio that has got the voices reportedly, allegedly, of former Speaker Kofa and others. According to him, when confronted by police investigators during interrogation, the former speaker had admitted to recognizing his voice, but said he couldn't remember having such discussion. As to Jacob Debi of Grand Juda County, the chief inspector alleged that he was a part of the conspiring based on the fact that he heard what all was being planned, but didn't alert authorities as a responsible citizen or as a lawmaker. As to the role of former Speaker Kofa, the chief inspector said, based on his post Alamu, and then what happened after was the Capitol fire, that pointed to his involvement as well. So the defense is also saying that the state's case is based on assumptions. It is not based on facts. It's based on because this was said, so that was done, because a Facebook post was made, so the Capitol building got burnt. And they're saying, now look, this is all assumption. This is not credible and substantial evidence and facts. So this should be thrown out. Now let's see what the witness has said during cross-examination. So the witness has said Representative Jacob Dibi was charged based on his silence after knowing that knowing about the plot, and he did not speak. He was aware that his colleagues were about to carry out the burning of the Capitol allegedly, and he facilitated the commission of the crime, so he is charged. the defense lawyer asked the witness about his reference to open source, like what is an open source and what is the source from which they gather their information. But that question was objected to by the state and it was sustained by the judge. So the defense is wanting to know the open source of the audio message, even though the witness said that a phone was searched based on a warrant that was prayed for by the state and that was granted by the court. So the defense lawyers are asking again, they're pointing to the legitimacy, the legality, and the authenticity of the audio. Remember, the chief inspector has said that Abu Kamara and others have said the audio was AI generated. So that objection was sustained by the judge. Spoon TV, live from the grounds of the Temple of Justice, is happening within the Monrovia City Court. Pre-trial hearing or evidence examination is currently ongoing, involving 4 sitting representatives of the 55th Legislature. J. Fonati Kofa representing Grand Crew County, Dixon Cibo representing Montserrado County, Abu Kamara representing Montserrado County, Jacob Dibi II representing Grand Jide County. So those 4 lawmakers are currently in court. Earlier we received some unconfirmed information for which we were able to have pointed out that that information was unconfirmed, that these lawmakers wouldn't have been present, but they rolled in upon us. Representative Kofa arrived, declined speaking to the media. Representative Cibo arrived, spoke to the media briefly. Representative Jacob Dibi arrived and spoke to the media also briefly. And Representative Abu Kamara was the last to have arrived of the 4 accused lawmakers, and pointed to his lateness as having had a doctor's appointment and questioned about his health. He said he's okay now, but while he was within the confines of the Monrovia Central Prison, he wasn't faring well, but has now been given treatment and he's fit to be in court today. The reason Representative Priscilla Cooper is not present, she had prayed for a severance and separate trial, and that has raised a lot of questions that if we do go to formal trial, whether or not the state has been able to offer deals and be able to flip those within, because you have to look at who are those, the big fishes. What can you give and take in this legal game? Who can you make a deal with? And if so, how credible can that source be? Because credibility of witnesses, credibility of sources, credibility of testimonies will also be key strategy of the defense, because this is a criminal case and all the defense needs to do is to create doubt. For now, are they creating enough doubt with the preliminary evidence or key witness being produced by the state? Are they creating doubt based on evidence that these charges cannot be proven, and if you go to formal trial, the state is going to be brought to public ridicule, so there is no need to go to trial based on bogus or trumped up evidence or unsubstantiated evidence? Is the judge going to rule that the evidence is enough for us to have a full trial, and the rest can be brought during the full trial, and expert witnesses can be brought in to ascertain whether the audio that was discovered was AI generated or it was an authentic audio message or audio recording? As you listen to the state witness that Representative Kofa had recognized his voice, but the 2 others, when asked, said that it was AI generated. We see Councillor Bodeka Councillor Kalando, a minute with the press, please. Councillor Kalando, a minute with the press, please. Why have you asked for a servant's trial for your client, sir?
No comment.
Is it that you anticipating a due of the state?
No comment.
Is it that you feel that these other representatives have got enough and you don't want your clients to be associated?
As you know from the police stations, there was different charges for different lawmakers. So we just follow the charges from the IG.
Why did you waive your right to preliminary hearing or evidence examination?
That's our right under the law.
Do you think the state has got enough to go to trial, or you want to take them on in formal trial and show that those charges were trumped up?
As you know, we're already in court. It's a sub-judiciary for me to be speaking. We're already in court.
Is it legal or political?
It's legal.
You try to compromise the co-president because you're United Party and the lady supporters are United Party.
Politics has nothing to do. We are right now in court, and we want to go through the process.
Why is preliminary hearing or evidence examination key in our judicial system?
We are already before the courts.
Thank you. Anthony Bobby Kalando representing Representative Priscilla Cooper. We have been able to get few words out of him as to why they waived their right to preliminary hearing. He said it is their right. As to the different charges, he said there are different charges against different lawmakers. So it is a clear indication that they do not want the sin allegedly of others to be put on them. So they've asked for a severance or a separate trial, and they've been granted that by the court. As to why they waived their right to preliminary hearing, he has said that that's their right and is their right under the law, and they waive that. While that is pointing to whether deals will be made, whether some defendants or co-defendants will be flipped into state witnesses. Remember, it happens in the legal system, not just in Liberia, but all around the world. Who are those that are the main players? Who are those that the government wants to prosecute? Who are those that might have played the most major role or roles in what unfolded on the 18th of December 2024 just across from here? That is the grounds of Liberia's legislature. Now, this is getting more interesting, but let's see if we can go back in the courtroom and see what is happening. So the defense lawyers are being objected to by the prosecution. Their questions are being objected to, and those objections have been sustained by the judge. Now, there was an objection from the state talking about the source of the audio, what is open source. The state objected that, and the judge sustained that objection. Now, we've been informed that the objections from state lawyers are being sustained by the court. The defense question, they said that Rep. Cibo is the chief financial man or for the commission of the crime. And the witness said yes, because he transported John Yanti and Amos out of the country through his office. So again, the witness brought in by the state is saying that Representative Dixon Cibo is allegedly the chief architect and chief financier of the capital arson attack, based on the fact that he transported witness John Yanti and Amos out of the country through his office. So folks, if you're just joining us, we were just in brief conversation with Councillor George Kalando, the legal representation of Representative Priscilla Cooper of District Number 5. He did say yes, confirming what we were earlier told by our judicial correspondent Melvin Jackson, that Representative Cooper had severed herself. She had cut herself from the other 4 representatives. He said based on charges that they are not all charged with the same crimes. So why should they all be going for a joint trial when they can defend themselves separately? Is it hinting to the fact that some deal is being made, or is it hinting to the fact that it's each to carry its own burden in this case? You listen to what Melvin said about Jacob DB, that he's charged with conspiracy based on the fact that he allegedly heard what was being planned. He had information as to what was being planned, but did not act as a responsible citizen allegedly by the police inspector, Peter Johnson, did not tell authorities what was going to unfold, and then the Capitol building got at fire. So by virtue of the fact that he was a part of the conversation, he heard, he did not participate, so he's charged with conspiracy. So the next question is, am I correct to conclude that the persons transported out of the country are the ones who burned the Capitol building, except that the lawmakers facilitated the financing and the witness has responded? Those out of the country are part of those that burned the Capitol building and the lawmakers facilitated. Remember, as I said earlier when we began this podcast, and I continue to say, that pre-trial hearing or evidence examination comes out with one of three of the outcomes. One, the charges can be sustained and there be a formal trial. Two, the charges can be reduced or amended based on the evidence and eyewitnesses account. Or three, the charges can be dismissed. So from what I'm seeing as the angle of the defense is, they're contending the arson case, they're contending the charge of arson, and they're sticking more with the facilitation. That look, if you say the guys who are out of the country, who Dixon Cibo allegedly facilitated and drove out of the country, or transported or financed out of the country, were the ones who physically took the ignition devices allegedly, were the ones who were smuggled into the Capitol, whatever way, whatever means they got to the grounds, were the ones who physically set ablaze the building, then why are you charging these lawmakers with arson? Didn't they just facilitate? And it's the state's turn to argue that in as much as they allegedly facilitated, provided the financing, and made sure it happened, had it not been the brains, had it not been the financiers allegedly, this act wouldn't have been committed. So those who are deemed as chief architect and chief financier also, though they didn't physically take the fire to the building, they allegedly financed the fire, and they should be held accountable, same as the person who physically allegedly took the fire to that building. So this is a legal process, as I said. As any good defense lawyer, you want to poke holes into testimonies and evidence presented. You want to create doubt that, look, these charges were not the charges to be put on our clients, or our clients who have been charged with arson. That if you're talking about facilitation and conspiracy, stick to facilitation and conspiracy. Why are you bringing up arson? And if they're able to sustain that argument and convince the judge that, look, if they can trump up charges such as arson, because the few carries the most in terms of prison sentence, 10 years, and what having they trumped up, what having they brought up as well? How can you trust everything else that they're saying? It shows prejudice to these individuals. It shows that they came with an ill intent, and we will see how it plays out. But as it stands, if Priscilla Cooper has waived her right to trial, is it a sign, and has waived her right to pre-trial or evidence examination? Is it a sign that the judge is going to rule and will actually have formal charges and a formal trial at the criminal court here at the Temple of Justice? But let's see if we can go back into the courtroom and see what we can get from Melvin Jackson. The next question is, in your testimony, you mentioned that J. Fanati Kofa in his Facebook post used the word Alamu, and this is why he has been charged, and the witness has answered. He was not charged for Alamu, but the statement used to motivate his boys to commit the crime. The defense, again, is working the angle that this cannot be proven. So because I go on Facebook and post rain, and it starts to rain, meaning I brought down the rain, and the witness has said, look, he posted Alamu, and that was either a code, a call sign, a motivation, and according to the witness, that motivated his boys to carry out the arson attack. It is getting interesting, and Melvin Jackson is providing us all of what is unfolding in the courtroom. Remember, during examination, Chief Inspector Peter Johnson said that the Facebook post, Alamu, which was posted by then embattled Speaker J. Fanati Kofa, was one of the reasons also why he was charged in this capital arson case. Being cross-examined by defense lawyers, he has said that Alamu wasn't, why they charged him, but Alamu was intended to motivate his boys that, look boys, do not be deterred. Go out there, go and do it. Alamu, it is time. Alamu, let's go and do it. Alamu, you should expect something that happened in Texas, similar, not in its nature, but it will be a resistance. And that is what the witness has said on the stand. Nelson Kole is here. I'm going to take a breather. I have been here for hours. Nelson is coming to replace me. He's going to relieve me for a considerable amount of time. And he's going to be giving you the updates as they unfold at the court. But we do see Safwa Gray, one of the counsels of the accused lawmakers, has exited the court as well. What is happening now is cross-examination is ongoing. Are we going to see these charges sticking? Are we going to see them reduced or amended? Are we going to see them dropped after all of what is unfolding before the judge of the Monrovia City Court? Diamond Slanger is my name. I take a short break off the microphone. The cameras will be rolling. And the next face you see will be that of Nelson Kole, a very prolific and eloquent correspondent and reporter of ours. Okay, so folks, we're still here. We want to say thank you for joining us. Many thanks to Diamond Slanger, who has been here since this morning, providing you the updates, bringing you up to speed with the happenings here on the grounds of the Temple of Justice. This is a major case. Liberians are concerned. High-profile individuals are concerned. The foreign residents of the country are concerned. Liberians, home and abroad, want to know exactly what happened. Especially so when it has to do with an iconic structure that happens to be the home of the first branch of the Liberian government. There are concerns. Everyone wants to know as to what exactly happened with respect to the burning of the Capitol building. Though there was a saga that saw lawmakers disagreeing, the impasse at the House of Representatives started on the 17th of October. It has dragged on. In fact, it dragged on for over 3 months. But in the heat of everything that went on, another major incident occurred. And that is the reason why we are here, of course, the burning of the Capitol building. And as you heard earlier, and Diamond have been providing the different updates here, the
the lawmakers in question, those accused, have been making their way here. Representative Priscilla Kofa was here. She had to leave at some point. And of course, 4 lawmakers still here, and we're looking forward to seeing what happens in the next couple of hours from now. As we stated the other day, doing this very update, that all of the situation. Okay, so we're seeing an arrival here. Okay, the deputy for operations of the Liberia National Police, Colonel Nelson Freeman, arriving here on the grounds of the Temple of Justice. Colonel Freeman, walking into the city court right now. He is the Deputy Inspector General for operations of the Liberia National Police. He's not just a law enforcement officer, but he's a lawyer as well. And as most of you are aware, this is a case between the government of Liberia and, of course, several lawmakers, officials of government, and this is a landmark case, a major case at this particular point. And so so we'll be here providing you the updates, capturing the different arrivals here every step of the way. And we have our judicial correspondent, Melvin Jackson, posted in the courtroom. He's going to be giving us updates. And once he provides those updates, we're going to be filling you in with the information every step of the way. But again, I want to say welcome. Thanks for watching Spoon TV. My name is Nelson Colette, Jurassic Joe on camera. And of course, just a quick recap of some of the happenings here today. The witness in this particular trial ongoing said Representative Jacob DB was charged for his silence after knowing that the plot, and did not speak up. And of course, he was aware that his colleagues were about to do the burning of the Capitol building, which he facilitated the commission of the crime. So he is being charged for that. That's just to go over some of the happenings there in the court. Just a quick recap. So the Grand Julia County District 3 Representative Jacob DB, while this entire process is going on, he's being charged for knowing allegedly, for knowing exactly that there was going to be the burning of the Capitol building. But according to the witness, he was silent, and so he facilitated the crime. Well, the defense lawyer, on the other hand, asked the witness about his reference of open source and what is that open source for which he gathered his information, but it was objected and sustained. And so this is also part of the process ongoing here at the Temple of Justice, where at some point the defense lawyer questions were being objected by the prosecution and sustained by the court. And of course, we are going to keep giving you updates once we receive those updates from our judicial correspondent.